should be ashamed of yourself for putting out such shit out there. What's up, bros? What's going on? Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about 10 pieces of DJ gear that I bought over the past 10 years of my DJ career that I absolutely regret buying. These pieces of gear, in my opinion, were a complete waste of money, and some of these pieces of gear are just total pieces of shit. The way I'm going to structure this video is products at the top are not necessarily bad products. They're actually good products. They just weren't the right product for me. As we work our way down the line to number one, these are absolutely horrendous products that everybody should stay away from. I'm making this list so that you guys don't make the same mistakes I made and to hopefully save you guys some money. So smash that like button. Let's see if we can get this video to 500 likes. And without further ado, let's get started. Coming in at number 10, we have the Chauvet Swarm Wash. Now, this is one of those products that it wasn't necessarily a bad product. I didn't have any issues with it. It was just one of those products that I regret purchasing. Originally, I had the Chauvet Swarm Effects, and I absolutely loved that light, but then I started, you know, kind of getting over the polka dot laser effect that the swarms produce. So I figured if I move to the wash, it's going to have a built-in wash. The difference between the Swarm Effects and the Swarm Wash were the LEDs around the perimeter of the lights. On the FX, those were only strobes. They only pretty much flashed white. When you stepped up to the wash, those LEDs around the light, they were red, green, blue, plus UV. To my mistake, I thought it was a full-blown par can. So I thought I could mount these underneath my speakers and I could wash the dance floor with colors. But I quickly realized that this was not a par can. You couldn't color mix with that wash swarm, which kind of blows my mind that they didn't just make it into a full-blown par can. I hated the fact that the LEDs couldn't be color mixed, and I hated the fact that the LEDs were individually controlled, so you got a bunch of goofy effects and a bunch of like rainbowy effects with the LEDs all being different colors. And on the Swarm Wash, the strobe that was originally around the perimeter of the effects were moved around the laser, and it pretty much became just an eye candy effect. It became a pretty tacky looking effect. It would just kind of do like a circle, kind of like a loading sign, and I just absolutely didn't like it. And it's not that it was a bad light. This was just a light that I eventually outgrew. I ended up selling both the effects and the wash. The effects I was pretty happy with. I didn't know much about lighting, and then when I stepped up to the wash, I was just a bit let down, a bit disappointed, but that was my mistake, not the manufacturer's mistake. At number 9, we have the ADJ Q Bar. This was a light that I was so excited to get that I actually ended up paying extra to get it expedited to me. If you're not familiar with the Q Bar, it's basically an uplight. However, instead of shooting one straight beam, this one shoots 3 beams, and it shoots 1 straight up and then 2 on an angle, like a 45-degree angle. So you get this kind of triangle looking effect, which is actually a pretty cool effect, and my idea was to always bring it to every event to set it behind me so that it could look awesome. You know, I was DJing and then I had like the lights going behind me, but the problem I ran into was the fact that I didn't always have a blank canvas right behind me. I didn't always have a blank wall right behind the DJ booth. So this caused an issue because this light really shines when you have a blank canvas where the light can just shoot up. Once you have things like paintings or you have curtains and things of that nature, windows, then this light is pretty much useless. I bought 2 of these thinking I could highlight the sweetheart table, ran into the same issue. So with this light, the issue I had was putting it into practice. Now, I've seen a lot of guys buy like a bunch of these and use them as uplights, but I only wanted 2, one to highlight the sweetheart table and one to highlight myself, and unfortunately, it just became a task trying to set them up just because we didn't always have that blank canvas. I also really wanted to like these lights because they had wireless DMX, Wi-Fi DMX built into them, so you can pretty much place them anywhere and control them off the iPad pretty easily. But unfortunately, every time we brought them, we never got to use them. We kept bringing them to events and we ended up never using them, so eventually we just had to bail on them and stop bringing them altogether. At number 8, we have my Facade. My original facade, not the ADJ one that I currently use. My original facade was a plexiglass facade, and there was a couple of issues that I had with this plexiglass facade. The first thing being the weight. This thing was heavy. It was heavy as hell. Second thing was the assembly. I don't know why, but it was very difficult to assemble this facade. I finally found a trick towards the end of its lifespan where I could just lay it flat on the ground and kind of align it flat and then carefully lift it up to the table. This thing was freaking heavy and it just never lines up. The pins never lined up together. It took forever to assemble that thing. The last thing, and the reason why I got rid of it, was because it was fragile. I know plexiglass you'd think is better than scrim, but a hard knock on it was gonna crack this thing, and I did crack it just a little bit on the bottom. And also, because this thing was so heavy, the hinges weren't strong enough to hold the weight, that the hinges ended up popping off, and I ended up having to take a rivet gun to fix it. I fixed the hinges, I straightened out the pins, and then I sold it for a fourth of the price that I paid for it. It was just a total loss on that plexiglass facade. At number 7, we have the Chauvet Easy Gobo, and man, I was so excited to get these in the mail. So excited, in fact, that I ended up ordering 2, thinking that these things were the best thing since sliced bread. However, I found these ridiculously difficult to use. Now, the selling point with these were the fact that they were battery powered, so gobos anywhere. You can display a monogram anywhere you want. These were also low wattage enough so that you can print out your own gobos, and my idea was like, man, I'm gonna make a killing with these because I'll be able to make the gobos at home. I'll just get some transparency paper, cut the gobos out, place them in, and then I'll have cheap, easy gobos. And the second thing was that they were magnetic so that you can stick them anywhere. Now, this stuff all sounds great on paper, but we ran into so many issues. Printing gobos, don't do it. They look horrific. I tried printing out gobos and they just did not look great. If you want to do gobos, you're gonna have to get a projector, or you're gonna have to order the actual gobo circle or coins. I don't really know what you want to call them, the metal ones, and you're gonna have to pay for those, and they're not that cheap. Second issue was that these things weren't all that bright. Now, granted, they were battery powered, so that was bad on my part. These things don't have that long of a throw, and what I found with gobos when I actually started doing gobos is that sometimes you're gonna need to throw that gobo far, really far. It's all about the positioning, and sometimes you're not gonna have the luxury to have your gobo right next to the wall where it's gonna be projecting. And lastly, the last and final issue was the gimmick that I fell for, was the fact that you can stick these things up to the ceiling with a magnet. And yes, this was all possible. I even did it a couple times at a couple of venues. I was able to reach the ceiling and stick them up there and then shoot a gobo on the ground. But this caused an issue. First of all, if you didn't properly align your gobo before you stuck it up on the ceiling, there was a no-go. You're gonna have to unstick, restick, unstick, restick, and if you're a DJ, you don't have space in your car for a ladder. And that brings me to my next point. You're gonna need a ladder because some of these venues have really high ceilings, and some of these venues don't want you bringing in ladders, and they definitely don't want to see you sticking stuff on their ceiling. So that magnet thing was a complete and total gimmick. I was only able to use it at one venue because the ceilings were low enough and they didn't complain about me sticking stuff on the ceiling. I brought it to other venues where ceilings were low enough, but then they complained about me sticking stuff up on the ceiling. And then I brought it to other venues that the ceilings were like super high up. You might as well have been trying to reach a skyscraper. So that was a no-go. It was a waste of money buying the Easy Gobos. And at number 6, we have something worse than the Easy Gobos. At least the Easy Gobos, I was able to use them a couple times, but I fell for it again. I ended up buying pin spots. And pin spots, let me tell you, do not buy them. If you're a DJ watching out there, don't buy pin spots. They're stupid. Don't fall for any gimmicks, any lights that tell you they're super easy because they have magnets or they have those scissor clamps where you can stick them up in ceilings. Don't do it to yourself. It's not possible. It's really difficult. Sounds easy on paper, but trust me, you're buying a useless light. I bought myself a pack of those easy pin spots, and they were horrible. I never got to use them, not once. The idea with pin spots is basically you can highlight a cake or you can highlight the centerpieces at table. But good luck doing that, because if you're a mobile DJ, you don't have that luxury to be running around sticking stuff up on the ceiling. Sometimes the ceiling is really high, and sometimes the venue doesn't even want you to touch their ceilings. So good luck with that, and this takes up a lot of time to go table by table and highlight the centerpieces or highlight the cake. Leave that to the decorators, leave that to the florists. DJs, stay away from pin spot. Do not, I repeat, do not buy pin spots. Do not buy any lights by any manufacturer that tells you that they're easy because they have magnets or because they have clamps that you can use on the ceilings. Don't buy that. Stay away. Stay far away from that. Before we move on to the bottom 5, I want to send a huge shout out to a brand new remix website called Rompe Discoteca. If you guys are looking for awesome Latin remixes or just remixes in general, right now as a launch special to the website, you can save 15% at checkout with promo code Barr15. That's right, save on your remixes by using code Barr15. Shout out to rompediscoteca.com. At number 5, we have the AKG microphones. I fell in love with these microphones. I was so happy with these microphones. I used them for a ton, and I mean a ton of gigs, and I would always hear guys talk about how they need to get better mics, they need to get mics that are super expensive, this and that, and I'm over here just chilling. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? I got $100 mic and it works fine. Never had any issues with it. And then I started having issues with it. I got to venues where this microphone was useless. It was absolutely useless. I started getting interference. I started getting dropouts. I started getting hiss. I started getting whatever that's called. It was just a nightmare. And I still rocked with it. The first time it happened, I was just like, oh, this venue was kind of sketch. We were kind of in the basement. It was kind of weird. I can understand why these microphones weren't working. And then it happened to me at a wedding. During ceremony, nevertheless. Lesson be learned. I learned a big lesson today. The microphones, they were not sounding at their best. As you guys can see right there, there's a big antenna and it was causing a lot of interference. These microphones were not only dropping out, but we were also getting that that I was talking about coming through the signal. It was one of the most embarrassing wedding ceremonies that I ever got through. I even had one of the guests come tell me, what was up with your microphone? I made it through the ceremony with some clever positioning of the receiver, but I vowed to myself that this would never happen again. I got rid of those things and I've never looked back. I'm never ever again trusting cheap microphones like that again. Taking the number 4 spot is cheap tripods. I made such a rookie mistake. I thought to myself, tripods, all they do is hold the speaker up. They're all the same. They all look the same. And then I realized that's not the case. Not all tripods are the same. They're different. And $20 tripods from Amazon, they're not cutting it. So I found these cheapy tripods for 20 bucks on Amazon, thinking I can get away with them. Brought them to 1 gig, and 1 gig in, they broke. They were so shit. They were so flimsy. They were almost plasticky. And let me just tell you this, tripods, they take a beating. At the end of the night, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this, but at the end of the night, usually one of the last things that you load in are your tripods. And after a long night of DJing and after that breakdown is done, you're loading your stuff into the car. We all do it all the same. Big stuff in first, little stuff in later. We'll shove it in all the nooks and crannies later. And tripods fall into that. They're long and they're thin. So typically we'll load everything up and then at the end of the night we'll just kind of toss them in the back of the car and they get beat. They get beat on a lot. And I never realized this. I thought I could just get any pair of tripods and they were going to last. But nope, screws started falling out. That pin that goes in between the holes fell like the first night. I lost that thing and I learned a lesson there. Tripods is one of those things where we just kind of neglect. We use them but we don't appreciate them. But tripods, they are absolutely crucial to what we do, especially in the DJ world. And $20 tripods, they ain't cutting it. Coming in at number 3, you know what's worse than really cheap tripods? super expensive tripods. That's right. After that incident with those cheap $20 tripods, I went on the internet, I went on the forums on Facebook, and I listened to those dumbass DJs on Facebook. They told me that the Gator Frameworks tripods were the greatest thing since sliced bread, and they're not. I bought those things and I absolutely hated it. So yes, in my opinion, the Gator Frameworks hydraulic tripods are worse than the $20 tripods from Amazon. And let me just tell you this, from a design, from a aesthetics perspective, these tripods were beautiful. They look futuristic, they condense into almost a cylinder. They look really cool, but there were a few problems with it. First of all, the build quality was horrific. They were almost the same build quality as the $20 tripods. I'm okay losing 40 bucks on a pair of tripods. I'm not okay losing 300 bucks on a pair of tripods. These things were absolutely horrific. My first gig out with these tripods, we lost the little screw that goes on the bottom because these also have an extension arm on one of the tripod legs so that if you're on unlevel ground, you can extend that little leg. That screw that holds that extra extension arm on one of the legs, it fell. So that extension arm was coming loose all the time. And the ironic part about that extension arm being there so that you can level your tripod to make sure that your speakers are always straight was the fact that I was on a leveled, marbled floor. And when I put my speaker on, that speaker was going like this all night. I even got some comments when I did my gig log talking about why my speaker was going like this. It was all tilted to the side. Second thing is, the bag was so shitty. The bag that it came in was already ripped out the box. I couldn't believe it. Out of the box, I got a ripped bag with these tripods. That's not the worst part about these tripods. The selling point of these tripods was the fact that these are hydraulics. You were supposed to just flip on a latch and then your speakers were supposed to shoot up. And let me just tell you this thing couldn't even lift a JBL PRX12. It couldn't do it. I unlatched it and it would struggle bringing that thing up by itself. And that's not where the problem ends with the hydraulic portion of these tripods. These tripods also have little notches instead of holes. Most tripods have holes, so you can count up 1, 2, 3 holes exposed. Now I know how to level my next tripods. These just have dashes and they don't have any markings letting you know when you're at a certain point on the tripod. So you can unlatch that thing, set that thing up to its length, and you won't know how far up you put that thing on the other tripod because there's no markings. And then I went on the forums and I complained about these tripods not even having markings on where exactly it is that I set it to so that I can properly match the other side. And they said to me, oh, just bring a Sharpie so that you always know where you put it, or just count the dashes. There's like hundreds of dashes. I was like, are you guys crazy? I'm not doing that every single event, and why would I do that with $300 tripods? These tripods were just a mess. Stay away from these tripods. They look cool, but they're not so great. The best tripods out on the market are the Frankenstein. Holding down the number 2 spot, this is a product that I regret recommending here on my channel. So, if you guys remember, I had a microphone incident with my AKG microphones. Those AKG microphones actually worked at a ton of gigs. But these microphones that I bought after that AKG incident were possibly worse and more expensive than the AKGs. I bought myself the Shure GLX-D, thinking to myself, wow, these microphones are awesome. They don't use radio signal, they use Wi-Fi. First mistake. Secondly, they have a built-in battery charger, so if you get yourself an extra battery, you can have one inside of your mic and then one inside of the receiver charging all the time. I thought to myself, wow, never gonna need to buy batteries again because I'll just be able to switch between the two all the time. But this microphone absolutely sucked. Sucked so bad, in fact, that it dropped out in every single venue I took it to. I actually had a friend. I did a gig with a friend. He's like, hey man, I have this GLX microphone and I don't know why, but it always drops out. And I thought to myself, yours too? That microphone is horrible. If you're a mobile DJ, stay away from it. I know it's tempting with the battery charging thing and with the carrying case that it comes with, but trust me, this thing is not ready for the road. This thing is not roadworthy. It drops out all the time. It is such a terrible microphone. I said it before and I'll say it again. This is just a word of advice to any mobile DJ out there. Stop buying cheap microphones. At the bare minimum, expect to pay at least $350 for a decent microphone, and at the bare minimum, $1,000 for a good microphone. Alright, it's time for number one. And this is a product that pissed me off so much. I am so pissed off at this company for making this product. This product is so shitty, and I actually recommended it to one of you guys. I am so sorry for recommending this product to you guys. I regret it. Holding down the number one spot as the worst product that I have ever bought is the SKB 4U plastic rack case. This thing is shit. It's fucking horrible. I hate SKB for building this case. It sucks so fucking bad. I was so pissed off with this thing. You have no idea how much rage this freaking case cost me. A few years ago, I did a rack build for my microphones, my really expensive microphones, and I didn't want anything crazy. I wanted a shallow rack, and I didn't want it to be too heavy because this was going to be for ceremonies, and I was also going to be using this at my receptions. I was going to set it right next to the DJ booth. So I found the perfect one in the SKB 4U shallow rack mount case. Except this thing sucks so bad. First of all, the holes weren't properly lined up, and the most frustrating part about this thing were the hinges. The freaking tops to this case, they would not stay on ever. They would pop off all the time. So much so that I actually ended up losing one of my microphones and a set of antennas to my super expensive QLXD microphones. Thank God I did not lose my receiver because of this fucking case, because I would have been so livid. They use some of the worst butterfly clips on this fucking rack. It is so horrible. I was so pissed off with this case. You have no idea how angry I was that I bought this. Do not buy any of the plastic SKB racks. They are absolutely horrible. Stay away from them. I actually ended up missing the return window on this thing, and I ended up being stuck with it, and I ended up just giving it away to some random ass dude on Facebook, and thank God I got rid of that thing. I got myself a Gator actual flight case rack because that SKB case was so horrific. Do not ever buy that. Don't listen to anybody who recommends those shallow plastic SKB cases. They're horrible. This product rightfully deserves the number one spot of my worst purchases ever. SKB, you should be ashamed of yourself for putting out such shit out there. Bros, let me know gear that you regret purchasing down in the comments below, and let me know if you've ever had any experiences with any of the gear I mentioned. Let me know if you guys had good experiences versus my bad experience. Before I end this video, I want to let you guys know that this entire week leading up to Christmas, you can save 20% on both my DJ Tools store as well as my DJ merch store. That's right, you can download my DJ sound effects, TV visuals, planning forms, DJ crates, as well as my shirts, which are always listed at the bottom of my videos, and you can get 20% off with promo code HOLIDAY20. Support the channel so that I can keep making more content for you guys. Links are in the description of this video. Thank you, bro, so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new around here, and don't forget to turn on that bell so that you can be notified when we do our top 10 best DJ purchases that I have ever made. Signing off, DJ Barr. Stay awesome. Peace.